Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I do appreciate that a lot. I also love it when people leave comments, so if you have a question about the video, or if you have a suggestion for a video, you want to tell me how you do things, or you just want to say hi, those are all great things to put in the comment section, so leave a comment. Periodically, I do a video where I do multiple projects, usually on Thursdays, and today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different kind of spring-themed custom chains. And I'm not going to make a huge chain for each one since I'm doing 3 projects, but I'm going to make a few links of each kind, and we'll hook them together and see how they look. I like making chains. It's kind of a satisfying sort of repetitive process where you can kind of lose yourself in it and just kind of let your thoughts drift away. If you want to see some of my other ones, I will point you to a list. I have a chains list, and there's a number of different chain projects that you can check out over there if you like making your own chains as well. So I'm going to make one that has flowers as the links. I'm going to make one that has leaves as the links, and I'm going to make one that has bumblebees as the links. So before we do that, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. I have a new patron. It's either Tamara or Tamara S. I really appreciate your support, and I also appreciate the support of my previous patrons. I think once you get a chance to get to know some of them tomorrow, I think you'll find that it's a great group of people with a lot of talent who are super nice. So thanks again, all of you. My other group is my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 21,400, I believe, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I really appreciate the nice comments I get from my YouTube subscribers. A lot of times people tell me that I've helped them to come out of a slump or inspired them to try something new, and I really love that kind of thing. So it helps me if I know that I'm actually helping people. So thanks for that. I do also appreciate the financial support, the super thanks, the buy me a coffees, people who buy my ebooks or my merch. All those things really help with my overhead, and I do appreciate that. So thanks for that too. All right, well, let's get started on these 3 chain projects. This is one of my design idea sketchbooks that you can get on my merch store. The more recent ones, I've started putting some useful information on the backs. This one has a conversion chart for American wire gauge to inches to millimeters. I find that pretty useful, and I think some overseas people might as well. What I really like about them, though, is this little grid pattern in the background. It helps me to sketch up my designs a little more neatly and keep a record of what I've made. So get yourself one of these. They're a great, useful item. So, all right, so like I said, we're going to make 3 different chains today, very basic chains. I think they're all mostly pretty easy. This one's a little bit of a challenging solder, but the rest of them I think are going to be pretty simple. So first one's just basically little flowers, 4-petaled flowers linked together with the jump ring. Second one is going to be some pieces of sheet that have been made to look like leaves with a little loop on both sides, and we'll connect those together. And then finally we'll do these bumblebees. And this is going to be 2 silver balls. I'm going to cut some grooves in there to make them look like a bee's body. And then we'll put some little 18 gauge loops of wire there for the wings. And then we'll hook them all together with jump rings as well. The only materials we'll be using are 18 gauge round wire, which is about 1 millimeter, and 22 gauge sheet for the leaves here, which is 0.66 millimeters, and everything else is 18 gauge round for the links and everything like that. If I was to make these into a full-fledged bracelet, which I may at some point, I'll probably just put a store-bought clasp on these with a little lobster claw, because they're kind of dainty and delicate. So, but let's get started making one of these. These are pretty easy to make. We'll start by making some silver balls, and kind of figured out about how big a piece I needed for that. I was going to do a piece of 18 gauge scrap wire that is about this one, let's see. It's about 12 millimeters. And so I'm going to make one link in front of you for each of these kinds, and then we'll hook them together after I make some more, and then I'll show you the final product at the end. That'll make the video a little bit shorter. I'm going to go ahead and use this while I have it to cut another couple, just so I have backups. It's always a good idea to have spares in case something gets messed up. And also, since I'm going to be making more links, I'll have them already cut, and they'll all be the same or pretty close. I use primarily hard silver sheet solder. I will be doing some easy paste solder to hook the links together today, but everything else is going to be hard sheet solder. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on with a dropper bottle, and my torch is a Silversmith model. It's their acetylene air torch. It draws in atmospheric air through these holes on the sides of this and mixes it in there to make the acetylene burn really well. And it's not as hot as an oxyacetylene because it's not pumping pure oxygen right into the flame. It's just atmospheric air. But it's much hotter than a propane torch, so it's great for silver work. Because sometimes with a propane torch you can kind of struggle to reach temperature. So I use a #1 tip for almost everything. But let's go ahead and make some balls here. To make balls, it's usually best to melt them on a charcoal block. You get more symmetrical balls. You want people to know you for your asymmetrical balls, do you? I'd say, don't buy Chad's jewelry. His balls are asymmetrical. Okay. So there's that one. That's about the right size for the flower, for the center of it. So I'm going to set him to the side, and let me grab some more 18 gauge wire. And I'm going to use my bail making pliers in large part to make the different pieces for this. So to make the little flower pot here, I just made the ball that's going to sit on top of it. But I'm going to make kind of like a figure 8 piece that goes like this out of one, and then some little loops here that are kind of elongated to solder in between there. You could do 4 separate loops like that, but then you got all sorts of things that can move around, and solder has a tendency to wick along areas like here. And so I was initially going to do that, and then I realized, oh, there's got to be an easier way to do this because they kept trying to stick to each other. So this will work a little bit better, hopefully. So we'll find out, right? So I'm going to use the smallest little thing on this one. Smallest thing, that's age-related word retrieval issues there. Just go one direction, then we'll go the opposite direction here. Let's cut that off right where they kind of meet with each other. So that'll be part of it there. I think for this one, I'm just going to hook them right through the petals like this. You could put a loop on the end of the petal or something, but that's going to make it kind of long. And I think this will be kind of cool looking. So, nothing too super fancy, but kind of fun and pretty easy to make generally. Alright, so we got that. Let's take this and let's also make some loops around that same cylinder on the bail making pliers. Cylinder is the word I was looking for. It's great getting older. Keep this for making more. Let's do this. I'm going to kind of line these up and then stretch them out so they're more kind of petal-like. So I got it like that. this open, kind of do that. Same way on that side. And kind of squeeze them together like this. I should be able to do this. I might cut these ones on the other side a little bit shorter because they're a little bit bigger than these. And I want them to be just a little bit closer. So I'm going to snip just a little bit off. And the next time I'll make it slightly smaller. Let's see how that looks now. So we'll just kind of solder it like that. So let's do that first. And we'll add that little ball on top of it. And then I will go off camera and make the rest of these particular ones. And we'll come back and do the next one. Supposing that nothing goes wrong. Okay, we still got that ball here. So I'm going to flux everything. We'll dry the flux. I have some of this hard silver sheet solder right here. Let's put a piece there. I'm probably going to have add another one because that's not going to get all of those solder joints closed probably. We'll see. I actually got 3 of them, so let's throw one more piece here. I think it didn't go the first time because it wasn't quite attached. Now there's probably enough solder right there to solder this on, so I'm just going to set that on top now. I already fluxed it. I think that should be on there. So let's cool it off and then we'll see if it comes off. If you're making a full length chain, I'd probably kind of make this into a more of an assembly line kind of process where you're making a whole bunch of filaments. I think with something like this, you know, you're going to have some individual variations, and that's okay. They're supposed to be natural representations of something natural, so yeah, that'll be fine. So I'm going to go off camera, make a few more, and then we'll hook them together, or at least hook one of them in front of you. And like I said, I'm going to use a little bit of easy paste solder for that process, so I'll be back in a sec. After I made these ones, I threw them in the pickle, knowing I was going to hook one more together in front of you, and I forgot to put the original one in the pickle. Duh. Oh. So I'm going to open this up. Put that on there. Put this on here. Almost every time I do a chain video, somebody asks me about fusing chains, and I haven't personally had a lot of luck with it, but I know a lot of people use Argentium silver for that. I haven't really messed much with that stuff, so I don't really know how that would work. With sterling, I haven't had a lot of luck fusing things. Maybe you could do it with fine more easily, but then you have really soft material. So, all right. So I got the little crack in the ring sitting upright. Just going to put a little tiny bit there. Good thing about this, when you're soldering something like this, is I only really need to get that ring hot, so I can avoid heating the rest of it like you normally would have to if it was a homogeneous piece. But now we just want to get that ring hot enough. We don't want anything else to get hot enough for solder to flow. That way you have less chance of other things sticking together. So let's cool that off. Let's see how that looks. That's kind of what I was thinking of. So I think that would make a really cute little chain. So I probably will finish this one at some point and sell it. Someone will love that. So, all right, well, let's work on the next one. So we're going to do the leaf one next. And in advance, I cut myself something to use as a template, so I could just trace out the same leaves over and over again without having to, you know, reinvent the wheel every time. So here's what I came up with, and I used a piece of the same stuff I'm going to use. So at the end, if I want, I can just use this one as another leaf. But that's my template, and I'm using 22 gauge or 0.66 millimeter sheet for this. So let's just find a little spot here, and I can just kind of scribe that out. And again, being representations of something natural, there's a little bit of variation. That's okay. At least I think so. All right, so let's cut him out of there. Okay, now I'm just going to take my file and kind of clean this up a little bit. If you really like sawing, that's okay. You can do this saw if you prefer. And I need kind of a long piece of wire here because I want to have enough room to make a loop on either side. So let's cut a piece about that long. And I think let's kind of in the center of it here, I'm going to pre-melt a little bit of solder on the wire, and after I flux everything, and then we'll try and get it laid where we want it and just heat the whole thing till that solder flows again. That's called sweat soldering, when you pre-melt some solder in a spot. And I'm also going to use my pick to do that. So this is, in addition to being sweat soldering, I'm also pick soldering. So if you're interested in pick soldering, I have a really good video about it. It's right there, and that's one of those skills that really will amp up your abilities. It allows you to place solder pretty precisely in just the amount you want, and I find it to be one of the most valuable skills I've learned over the years. I think the more you think about soldering and why things happen the way they do, the easier it becomes. So with silver, one of the primary rules is, in order to get something to stick to the silver, solder like this, You really got to get the entire piece up to the temperature, so you can't just focus right in that spot. You got to go back and forth, go back and forth. So I'm going to get this flux here to flatten out a little bit. I'm going to set this on top of that. Hopefully I can get it kind of lined up the way I want it. Flux is sticky, so sometimes it'll stick to things. I got lucky that time. So it's going to be easy to get this wire hot, but it's going to be harder to get the piece of sheet hot. So I'm going to kind of spend some time more in the middle than everywhere else, but until I get that solder to reflow. But if you don't get that sheet hot enough, it's not going to stick to it. So let's cool that off and we'll take a peek and see if we got it. So thinking for this, I like to make it kind of curl naturally on standard leaves like this. I'm just going to go down a little ways like that with my round nose pliers. I'm just going to wrap that around itself. So we can just cut off a little loop there, like that. Okay, so now let's solder those loops closed, and then we can add some texture to the leaf to make it look more leaf-like. Leafy? Leafalicious? See how easy it is when you pick setting to get stuff where you want it? Kind of a handy skill. Okay. So I'm going to just put some little lines to represent the veins that extend out from the stem in the middle. I have this, I don't even know where I got this, but you could modify a little screwdriver or something to have kind of a chisel kind of edge on it. That's what this one has. But I'm just going to use my plastic hammer. And we're going to kind of make little leaf kind of things. Leaf kind of things. See, there's that word retrieval issue again. There we go. You could even curve this a little bit when you hook them all together, but let me get the rest of these made, and then we'll see how they look. Okay, so I'm going to use the same size rings that I did on the other one, which are just the ones made around the smallest cylinder on my veil making pliers there. But this This is the kind of thing you could scale however you wanted, probably. You'll notice on the first three here, I hooked these two pointed towards each other, and then this one away, so I was going to do this one pointed towards that one. The next ones would be the same way, so like in groups of two, kind of. You could do them all in the same direction if you wanted to, I suppose. Just kind of. You could even alter leaves and flowers if you wanted to. Wouldn't that be fun? I did something kind of like that for my patrons a while back. It was more of an anklet, but I put a little sparkly a champagne colored CZ at the center of the flowers. And the leaves were probably kind of similar to this, maybe not quite the same shape, but I think that's pretty fun. You know, after these pickle a little bit more and I polish them, if I'm feeling like a real risk taker, maybe I'll bend these a little bit. I don't know though. I don't want to get too crazy. Okay, so we'll let those pickle for a little longer, and let's get to work on the third one. So like I said, to start with on these ones, I'm going to make a small ball and a big ball. And so I think we decided this was probably cut for that. I don't remember. But the small ball was the same size as the flower center one. I cut those on purpose to be that way. I have a newer charcoal block, but I haven't gouged any little holes in it yet. So when the things melt into balls, sometimes it rolls off, and sometimes it rolls in my direction, so I got to move really fast. And I don't move really fast as well as I used to. Okay, so let's move him over there. You never want to pick up molten balls until they're kind of cooled into a black state. Let's kind of fold this up so it's a little more concentrated. This one being the head, the other one being the abdomen. So let's cool that off. Now I want to make some stripes on his body, and the best way I could think to do that easily was to use my jeweler saw. And in order to hold something this small, I have what's called a miter vise jig. And I figured I could stick his head in here, in one of these little positions, so it's his abdomen sticking out like that. Tighten it down to hold it in place. And then, I get a double zero on here. I can put a couple of stripes on his butt here. And maybe actually kind of work my way around his abdomen a little bit. If you wanted to, you could, before you get done, you could oxidize the whole thing. So that those stand out a little more. Okay, so he's got a couple of little stripes now. Okay, we need to make some more of those little kind of make wings on. I'm going to use the same size loops as I used these for to make his wings. So let's cut some more of those off. We're working in a pretty tight space between the abdomen and the head there. So I think we might need to cut an extra one just in case I mess one up. We might need to file them a little thin on the edges. So let's do the same thing we did before for the flowers. We kind of narrowed them out and elongated them. Okay, so I'm going to keep him over here in case I need him. But I'm going to file one side of each of these a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit flatter. So I can get two of them pretty close to each other. Just like that. Like that, and pretty close together. Let's put a ring on either side so we can put a jump ring in between each little bumblebee. I guess I could probably put all three of these into one bracelet if I cut them back apart again. That might be kind of cool. Maybe I should do that. Tell me in the comments if you think I should have done that. Just make one bracelet with all three components. That would be, I bet someone would love that, honestly. So should I make one big bracelet or three separate bracelets, each with a theme? What do you think? Give me a few minutes to make a few more of those so we can hook them together. Alright, we're ready to solder our last bumblebee on here. Alright, so I will pickle that and do any kind of cleanup I need to do and polish them. And I'll do that with all three of them, and then I'll show you the results at the end. And don't forget to vote which one you like the best. Or if you think that I should have combined all three. I think you could come up with some really fun combinations of these things if you used all three of them. So tell me what you think, and I'll show you the result in a bit. Alright, well there's my three little kind of chains that I think, the more I think about it, the more I like the idea of mixing and matching them. You know, put a bee and then two leaves and then a flower and then two leaves and a bee, or maybe something like that. I might have to disassemble these and create one big chain out of them. So tell me which one you like the best, if any, and I'll get some better pictures and put them at the end. Okay, well that was three spring-themed chains. I hope you enjoyed those and find some use for them. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go, and I'd love it if you'd take a moment and go over and check out my main channel page. I have almost 500 videos now, and I think you're almost certain to find something else interesting over there. There's a lot of projects, there's a lot of skills, there's different playlists. If you're a beginner, there's a beginner's playlist you can check out. I think it's called Easy Projects. Or if you're more advanced, there's one for more advanced people. So check those out. Subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the video description down below. There's some important links there. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that community and what a great place it is. You can get your videos there, the same videos I post here, without the YouTube advertisement, which is kind of convenient. That's the lowest tier. There's some other tiers as well that include other perks as well, including including exclusive tutorials. I just did one for them this morning. So check those out. It's a great place with a lot of cool people. And there's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks. I find those invaluable, as it gives me a place to draw up my ideas and a place to keep track of what I've made, so I can go back and revisit them if I want to. Finally, there's a link to my ebooks if you want to get yourself either 2024s or 2023s. Each one is a guide to all of the videos that I did for that particular year. It includes a link to each of the videos, as well as additional information, pictures, difficulty ratings, materials lists, all that kind of stuff for the videos. So check those out. It's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips, as well as a really nice way to support my channel. So thank you in advance if you choose to do that. All right, well, thanks for coming today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.